I've been told that the leaders don't believe everything they're saying on the TV. They've been saying how they're trying to work for me. They've been saying that they're for democracy. What'd you do with the Windrush guys? What'd you do for Damilola's life? What'd you do for his legacy other than kill more brothers that look like him? Believe nothing before this point because the leaders lie. In fact, sink your toes into the sand and anchor here. Recline into your idealism until you're almost facing the stars and then count how many parts of the manifesto actually manifest. Let the politicians' drum dance around your chest like Notting Hill, but appreciate it for no more than a great performance. This valley is the stomping ground. This valley is the blood and sweat and other building blocks. This valley is where we see reality. Away from the sequined interviews and colourfully feathered promises, this valley is pre-Grenfell. This valley is where they really push Brexit before leaving. This valley is Windrush passports in backpacks gathered at the bottom with workers' tags and 70 birthday cards and an Oyster card and a freedom pass and probably glitter, because that just gets everywhere, kind of like we did, making things glisten underneath eyes that couldn't wait to see something different. They wait for a distraction to move them off in the night. Jokes on them, Windrush caught a headline. Jokes on us is still happening. This valley is Damilola, Stephen-Lawrence, Mark Duggan, violent void, stop and search, kill him if he's running. This valley looks up and sees the 1% sending their wounds down in tax brackets. Carefully packaged debt delivered to our crumbling doors. I let go of the hills for a second and the sky got even closer to my scalp. This valley is a diamond barely balancing on the fingertips of the few down there who actually give a damn if we drop, so give a damn. Because the leaders don't. Or the leaders won't. Imagine a London without the smoke and the mirrors. In fact, actually, just share my vision. So, it's 6 a.m. Your sleep has come to a finish. You've rolled over to tend to your alarm, but your little brother's grabbed you by the arm and he's holding it suspended. Now, before you get offended that he's in your room without knocking, his facial expressions you're clocking, you know something isn't right. He's typically a young boy full of light. He's black boy joy before the flowers and over sentimentality, but his face right now reads tragedy. His mouth is stuck open with no words to push his lips apart. And you don't know what's going on. It's 6 a.m. Nothing really happens at these times. 6 a.m, Mum would have just left for work. Bro, what's wrong? Speak, I need you to use your words. You're sat up now, shaking. Grab his hands, he's shaking. It's Mum, he said. I don't know if it's the pills that she's been taking, but she's woken up talking wreck. Woken up talking about how she wishes she was dead, how her boss doesn't respect her, how Dad's been rejecting her, how most nights she goes to bed scared that we won't even make next month's rent. She sounds scared and disappointed, but she stopped believing in her anointing. And this might be normal to some, but this is alien to you. Because if there's one thing consistent about Mum, it's her faith in what God will do. She only ever speaks life, Jesus Christ, her main rider, and all of a sudden she's sounding suicidal. Nah, bro, it can't be true. Fling off the duvet, run into her room. You can't believe the scenes. You can't believe what you're seeing. You can't believe what your mum is about to do. She stood in front of the TV, Bible dropped open by her foot, kitchen knife in one hand, tears flooding her face, hair all over the place, looking like she's been ready to die, and then she catches your eye. And you catch the headline. It says, something's in the air and it's spreading through the areas. It's worse than a truth serum, so please beware of it. Government bodies are airing out their secrets and not caring. Managers are being honest. Of course it isn't faring very well with the staff, but they're daring to be different, daring to be resistant. Everything's malignant. It's like the truth's got the land in a chokehold. There's rioting. The truths that tend to stay in throats are unquieting. Policemen are vocal when they're stopping their search, but they're acting true to their prejudice. So imagine what's unearthing in these streets. A young Aki's just been stopped by the feds, but this thing in the air is now the thing in their heads. So when they say roll down the window, Packy, or you're dead, he rolls down the window, grips the Fed by his neck, and you can guess what happened next. You can guess what's happening in these streets. Take the microphone far from our Prime Minister and pull the pulpit from the priest. Don't let the leaders speak. Today they can't lie, and we aren't free. Don't let the leaders speak. Today they can't lie, and we aren't free. So ask your questions if you're brave enough for the truth, insane enough for the truth. Don't care about what you lose in this process of honesty, tired of dishonesty. I've got some questions, so don't mind if I do. Mr. Bank, tell me about tax. What really happened with the Panama Papers and the ex-con traders? Actually, scrap that. Let's start with the facts. How can the poorest 50% of the world's population own the same amount as the richest 85 people alive? That's around 3.5 billion people's wealth, adding up to that of only 85. That's less than it would take to fill out this room. Now, I'm not mad because personally, I wouldn't mind. But when a quarter of these people are in politics, I'm more inclined to question their expenses, question their intentions. When the poverty in Britain is so shocking, but democracy is still getting a mention in the same conversation as welfare or tax. And it just takes a young Google search to realise that the technicalities of that are technically a scam. Legal tax avoidance. Imagine that. But I'm still not mad. Because if I wrote the laws, I would probably favour my own too. The 1% are also in control of litigation, which is why for decades we see them do whatever they choose. They bend and twist the facts and law to give less and take more, but look at who it's harming. Look at what it's harming. The NHS is on its last legs, whilst our relationship with the Middle East is positively alarming. So you're telling me those too poor to fall into the bracket of those who can get away with avoiding tax aren't even getting their benefits back. They're just getting their paychecks capped. That's tax. But the 85 was made up of more than just that, and that's what burnt me. Actually, that's what hurts me. Because it was those that we were trusting to give back. Those that are meant to do work of the heart also came under this attack. There were imams and pastors, charity CEOs, prominent artists that only ever talk about saving the people, who have only ever really cared about saving their pockets. And it's sad because people need them. People need their aid as well as something to believe in. And exploiting vulnerable hope is simply inexcusable. That's regarding people as usable before human, and that is the crux of why so many people in Britain are fuming. The priority right now is in the divide. Look at Brexit. Look at Brexit and how it was wired. Look at the cultural resentment that it unearthed and then left for minority groups to survive. Look at how black has become synonymous with violence or Islam with crime. How are we avoiding social indicators again? Look at our friends, look at Glasgow. Once the crime capital, look at how it's been saved. Look at looking past race to the root of the problem that for hundreds of years hasn't actually changed. It's poverty, lack of education, a crumbling care system, unlawful litigation, exposure to domestic violence and arrest without proof. That's what's killing our youth. But Britain schemes to be scared of the truth. They just put more police on the street. Like Theresa, what's that going to do? Perpetuate a problem that's been bubbling for decades? Wouldn't logic tell you to match solution to the actual cause? Encourage youth centres to reopen their doors, except this time with an agenda to entertain and elevate, not just create yet another safe space for rival postcodes to congregate. Come on, man, let's be smarter than the mistakes you've already made. For once, just put the people first and make good of your promise to change. I wish, for one day, can't nobody tell a lie, and we all get held accountable, and probably all fired, but at least we're being honest. At least we're open to our skins. Shedding is the perfect place for us all to re-begin. I've been told that the leaders don't believe everything they're saying on the TV. They've been saying that they're trying to work for me. They've been saying that they're for democracy. What'd you do with the Windrush guys? What'd you do for Damalola's life? What'd you do for his legacy other than kill more brothers that look like him? Thank you.